Welcome everyone to HTML CSS Part 2. In Part 1, we looked at getting a code pen up, getting all the HTML up and going. So this is the website we want to make. This is what we're aiming for to look like. And right now, this is what we have. This beautiful, lovely website. Where the images are huge, nothing's in the center, it's just gorgeous. But, as I said, we do want to make it a little bit prettier. So, if we want, we can start, let's look at, so this looks actually like a different color than just this straight dark black we have. So, the one cool thing, actually before I dive into that, let's talk about CSS a little bit. So CSS is short for Cascading Style Sheets, which is a short way of saying this makes things look pretty. But the cascading part is quite important. So CSS has tags similar to HTML, where it's calling for an element and it changes that element that calls. Syntax is a little bit differently, and it implements things a little bit differently. So it goes from least specific to most specific. So what that means is there's a tag for everything on the screen. So this little star means everything, and let's say we want our color, which is the text color, not the background color, to be still blackish, but not this really dark kind of like severe black. We kind of want this nice little pretty-ish black. So let's see. So Google Chrome, go to View, Developer, Developer Tools. I'm not sure, I'm sure Safari has something, but I love Google because the dev tools are a lot easier to work with. I know Safari has an inspect mode, but it's not as easy to navigate as this. So let's see. Okay, so we have on our elements in the developer tool, we have the HTML here, but as I said, we don't really need the HTML since we already have that. So down here is what we're looking at. We're looking at styles right in here. And as you see, this all property that we already put in, the color is this fun little hex color. So let's grab that and say, as it said down there, color that and semicolon. And look, it just changed. So keep your eye down here on this title, okay? So I see it. Alright, I'm going to comment it out. And look, dark. It's a very small change, but I think it does a lot for it. So, commenting out. CSS, you can highlight Mac, it's Command \, and it does it like that. Or if you don't want to do it with the code pen, you can just type it in yourself. You have to have the closing comment, because as you see, it'll just comment everything below it without that closing comment. But we like that color, so we'll keep it in. And let's see. It also has margin and padding of 0. Alright, well let's put that in and then let's talk about it. So margin, padding, okay, wow, you see that? Alright, let's bring this up a little bit so you can kind of see a little bit better. Alright, so I commented out, save. Alright, you see the little bit of space on this side, and let's put it back in. Space is gone. Space is gone on everything. So what is margin? So in a website, there's a model called the box model, which is pretty much the whole site is a box in a box in a box. The whole web page is the one HTML body box. In that box, we've put our let's see, So we put our header, we put our title, header, and in the header box, we put in this nav box, and we put in another section box. So all these boxes have a margin, a border, a padding, and where the content is. So the margin is everything outside of that box. So it's going to affect its distance from other boxes. It's going to affect its distance from the side of the screen. So if we put the margin, and in DevTools on Google Chrome, you can change it right in here to kind of see how it changes. Let's put 10 pixels. Wow. And since it's on everything now has a margin of 10 pixels. And as you see, it kind of makes things not so pretty. I mean, it didn't really break too much, but it definitely messed up our nav. So we obviously don't want that, so we want 0. And then let's see our padding. Let's take a look and see how bad that will do. Oh, that's not what we wanted. We wanted padding. Okay. And look. So let's put in the margin so we can kind of see both of them. Ooh, that's okay. Nope. Sorry. As a coder, I save everything, and in the DevTools, you don't actually save anything, but it's habit. All right. So let's see. So we have this nice little box to show us. So the margin, you can see the margin is 10 pixels wide, and it's right there, the orange little doohickey. So that's the margin. There's no border, so we don't need to worry about that. And then the padding. And you can see the padding. Let's see, margin and padding. So the margin is outside the padding. And let's just put in a border just so you can kind of see. And we'll go over this a little bit more. And since it's on the star, everything gets a border. And we are highlighted on the body, so we're going to be looking at the body margin and everything. So there's the margin. As you see, it's outside the border. And then there's the border. Then the padding is inside the border. So margin's outside, padding's inside, and then the content. This other thing out here is the HTML, which we don't need to worry about because it's on the IDE and we're on the CodePen, so we don't need it. All right, I'm going to refresh and get back our nice pretty. Okay, so margin, padding, so margin's outside, padding's inside. And the star affects everything. But even though it affected everything, you can still differentiate specificity beyond that. All right. So let's see. And it looks like, so let's work on this title. All right. All right, so title here. Okay, that does not look like the same font as down here. So let's grab that H1. It is because it's an H1. Okay, so H1, and then in order to change the font type, we do font family. Font family is the font type. It's just a little CSS style. You can go to W3 Schools, MDM, learn more about it. Google it if you forget. Google is your friend. Or any search engine is your friend. So let's see. Cursive. And woo, look at that. It changed into a sweet cursive. Okay. But it's still off to the left. And it's in the center. Okay, let's fix that. Text align will align it in the center. So you can do center, we can do left, we can do right. But for me, I like center. It just looks more professional, it looks better. And let's see. So, I also think it has a bit of a, well, let's look, okay? So we'll go not into that one. All right, so we'll hit this one. All right, so it does have a margin, but it doesn't have a margin on the sides, just the top. Okay, how do we do that? So margin, you can do it several different ways, okay? So you can write out 4 different numbers, and it will be in a circle. So the 4 different numbers will represent the top, right, bottom, and left of the object. So let's comment that out just as a reference. And let's say, okay, so we know the top and we know the bottom, right? So we are going to say 20 pixels, top, right is 0, bottom is 20 pixels, left is 0. And it does look like that's good. Okay. So with that, but in coding, we don't like to repeat ourselves. One of the things is called keep your code dry. Don't repeat yourself. And it looks like we're repeating ourselves pretty good here, right? Well, margin, as you see, we just have one thing here, right? Well, if you just have one thing, it applies to everything. So let's just do 20 pixels. And it's not really going to change much, but if we do a border, solid, to kind of look at it. All right, so let's go back. Top, right, bottom. Okay. So we see the box that our title is in. It's all the way out to the screen with this way. But we put that in, and the margin is all the way around it. And we don't want that. So another little thing that is a bit of a trick is margin. If the top, bottom are the same, right and left are the same, you can make it, all right, margin, top, bottom, right, left. All right, so this means that these numbers are the same. So top, bottom, we know we want it to be 20. But our right and left, we don't want any margin. So we want a 0. And look at that. We are back to where we wanted, but we don't have the extra typing of the extra 20 and the extra 0, which is very nice. So, okay. So we don't need the border anymore because we're done with margin, and we don't need any padding. It did not look like, let's see. So we got margin, no border, no padding. Okay. But somehow the size is a little bit different. And as you see down here, it has a font size of 60. All right, so, and also very cool to see is if you go down here, you see our star. That was the first thing we did, right? Go up here. First thing we did. Margin is 0. Padding 0. So color is still the same. Margin, though, is crossed out. Padding is still 0. So margin is crossed out because when H1, we gave our title a margin. And since H1 is more specific than all, it's going to go over that margin after. It's going to listen to this H1 margin over the all margin. So it's going to overwrite the previous code. So if you want a particular item to look a particular way, be as specific as you can. That way that, like, if we had another H1, that H1 would look the same way as this one. But if we want them to look different, we'd have to give them classes and IDs, which we will talk about a little bit later when we get into the images, because our images are styled a little bit differently. So we'll get there, don't worry. Okay, so margin, okay. And alright, so then let's go to our nav. Okay. Because our nav is next. But okay, nav is next. Let's do our nav. So nav, but the nav, what these are is not the nav. These are links inside the nav. These are links inside the nav. So in order to grab them, you have to do nav A, which is going to look for the nav and then go to the A. And then open closing braces. And then we are going to, let's see, we want to we want to take away this underline, okay? That's a text decoration, and we want none. And look, it goes away. We could do lines through. We could go back to underline if we wanted, but we want none because I don't like underlines. I don't think they look nice. And we want and we want it to be text center, but let's see. Let's do text align center all. What does that give us? All right, that lined up. All right. I say that we keep it like this until we find a need to change it. Okay, so text line, so all I did was take it out of my H1, put it in here because this was over here and I wanted the center. This, again, over here, but I want it in the center. So, since multiple things I want in the center, I can just put on all, and then when I reach a point that I need to change that, I can just come and grab it and change it. Okay, so let's see. So these do not look very close to, as close as ours are. So let's go to the nav, and let's go to this reference. All right, so we got, so it looks like it has a margin, but only on the left, right, and bottom, so not the top. So with that, and it does look like a border, as you can kind of see that little like box shows up. It's not very sharp. Let's see, let's make it black. Okay, there you go. So it does have a border, but because we wanted to kind of blend in with our nav, it was a light gray, but it is there. All right, so it has a margin, it has a border, and it looks like it has a padding. Okay, let's start. Okay, let's just start with the margin and the border. All right, that'll be our best move. All right, so margin, and then we want our border. So margin is the top was 0. All right, right. Okay. There we go. So top is 0, but this is 20. I wonder why that's 20. Let's see here. Okay. So bottom is 20. Sorry, guys. So bottom's 20, so top. So we'll do 4. So top 0, and you don't have to put pixels. You can if you want 0, 0, no matter if you're doing pixel, percentage, any of that. And then right is 10 pixels, bottom is 20 pixels, and left is 10 pixels. And look, it's moved out. Nice. You do need these semicolons at the end. I don't think I've mentioned that yet. If I don't, it's not, you see this is not going to render and it puts it back. So it's not going to listen to anything below that line because it doesn't know that it's done. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. It just didn't want to work for a second. Alright, so then our border, let's look over here. So border is 1 pixel solid. So 1 pixel solid light gray. As you can see, light gray is there. And so we have a border. What does the 1 pixel mean? The 1 pixel is the heaviness of the line. So let's say 3 pixels. It's a bit thicker of a line. Let's go crazy and do 10. Whew, that's terrible. That's huge. But as you see, the thinner the line, the less pixels. So we want a thin line, and we want there. And let's look. So background color, it has background color. So we will now change our background color. Background color. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can either do background color, you can just say background, it's whatever you want to do. And let's just check with this. That is not what I wanted. Sorry, I accidentally clicked the link. And background color is this nice little color here. So, alright. As you see, it changes that nice color. This is a hex color. It's just the specific color of this. If we didn't want to be super specific, we could just write purple. And that's really dark. It does not look nice. We could put lavender. And I spelled lavender wrong. I always do that. Lavender, it's light, it's nice. And we can keep it with the lavender. Yeah, let's just keep it the lavender so I don't have to keep copying and pasting the color. But the color you can actually find in color palette. There's color generators, create a palette, coolers, look up color palette, and as you'll see, it'll give you a nice little palette. This is where I got it from. It's this Westeria. You could look up, you could generate again, and it'll generate you a new palette. So if you're not sure what colors work well together, these color palettes kind of have something that works better. Lighter will be kind of more for background, darker for your text, but we'll stick with the lavender. And it is still not like there's this lot of space in between this, and the corners are not square, are not sharp like ours are. So for the border, a border has a border radius. So the border radius is, you guessed it, the radius of the border. And what this does is it will change the corners. So you have a box, and the nav links are a box. But instead of being super sharp with the corners, we can round them with the border radius. And the border radius, we'll put in 20 pixels. And as you see, it rounds it nicely. And I mean, we could have gone 10. Let's save that. Alright, let's go with 5. Alright. See, they're rounded, but still pretty straight. 10. Round a little bit more. And 20 looks pretty good. Alright, so it's very, very close to the words themselves. Whereas here, the words have a nice space in them. And that space is, as you recall from before, the padding. It's the padding from the outside of the box to the content. So we will go and we will give it a padding. So padding, 20 pixels. And look at that. Padding is looking nice. So, looking pretty good. Okay, and let's see. Oh, the font color is a different color inside. So, we don't want it black. We want our color, as you called before, we want it white. So that makes it white. but because our lavender is a little bit lighter than that color, we'll make it purple. And as you see, it's nice, and it does do the little pointer thingy, but it's not hold on, sorry, I'm just noticing that this is very high up here. Okay, so let's see, top, right, bottom, left. Let's do 10 pixels. It's just, alright. We'll fix it with the image when we get there. Alright, so color is now purple. Yay. And, but in our website, we hover over it and it changes. Is that JavaScript that we hear about? Nope, this is a CSS cover. And the way you do that is you do call the link you want, nav A, and then semicolon, hover, and that just means we're picking up these links and we're hovering. So we do background, white, and then color, lavender, spell it right, and we'll see what that does. So we did that. Ooh, look, it's changing colors. Super cool. Again, the lavender is just a little too light, so let's say blue. It's not going to look nice, but there. And we got blue links. I mean, we could take the color out completely, not even say it's a color. And can you guess what color it's going to be? Is it going to be the straight black of the website? Is it going to be the color of the header? Or is it going to stay the purple? Let's see. It's going to stay the purple. Now, why was that? Okay, so everything has this color, right? So this has the color, everything down there has the color. So if the hover color isn't working, shouldn't it be this color? Yeah, it should, but we've also called it a different way. So we've called the A here, which is more specific than all. And we've told it the color is now purple. And since it's more specific than all, it's going to stay purple. It's not going to change back. If we want to change it back to this color, we'll just copy that hex code and comment it down here. And let's try it. Look, it's now the color of the bakery. We could even give it black. And now it's a darker color, not quite as light. So it's kind of up to you, your style preference. I'm not a designer, but you know, you might be, so you might know how to make things look prettier than I do. I'm just a good coder programmer. Front end, I enjoy when we get to React, HTML, CSS. I love if I have a template. Very bad figuring it out on my own. Design-wise. Know how to render it something, but how to make it look good, usually need some outside help. And this is actually, my sister helped me design it. She's a bit more artistic than I am. So we did that. Okay, let's take care of these images. These images are driving me crazy. So we will go and we'll hit the image tag, and this is going to take care of every image on the page. All right, so the width, as you can see, is huge. All right, so let's say if I do a width 100%, it somehow does not take up the whole thing. There's no scroll bar anymore. Why is that? Well, the width, 100%, is the width of the container. So the image container with undefined goes out all the way. But the image is a container inside the header container, which is inside our body container. So this is 100% of the header container. So let's just grab the header just to show you. So with, let's say it's 50%. So the header is 50% of the body. And as you see, our header went to right 50%, right there. All of that, but as you see below it, it's not 50 because our header cut off at the cupcakes. Okay, so let's say we wanted the image to be 10% of that header. That is tiny. But you can kind of see it only takes up 10% of the header. And since our header, well, since everything is text align, it's centered based on that box. And let's see. Let's put a border here so you can kind of visualize it a little bit better where the box is. Look at that. The box is here, but everything inside it is centered in that box. But if we had everything text aligned, why isn't it in the center? It's because we said 50%. So we take this out. It's 100%. Let's say put this back in. It's down to 50. Now if you kind of want to center it, you could do, let's see, I think this way. Nope, that does not do it. Okay. If you want to center it, you could use margin. Let's say margin, we don't want anything on the top and bottom, but our left and right, let's say 20%. And look, it's put us in the middle. It's centered. Our links are a little bit outside, but that's just because we messed with the padding and margin, so nothing too crazy there. So we will take this out. All right, and width will be 100. And okay, but that's actually not, it's a bit smaller than that. So let's take a look. All right, that's everything. So margin border, to do padding, border, color. Let's go to the image down here and see what we got. Okay. So let's give our image, let's give it a margin on top. Nope, top, not left and right. Okay. Bear with me, guys. Alright, let's give it a bit more. Alright, let's give it more. Oop, too much. Okay, so it's down a little bit. I feel like this here is a bit more of a space. So let's go up to our H1 and give it more of a space. Okay, let's do, so top, right, bottom, right, left. Top, right, bottom, left. Okay, so let's do bottom 50. Okay, that looks a little bit better. It's a little bit more spacier down from the links themselves. A little bit from that. All right, the image still a little bit large, so let's go 50. And the difference between an image and that header we had shown earlier is our header is inside here. So it's still 100%. The 50% will go to the side, but it's centered aligned, which means that it's going to the center. So it's 50 in the center. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post comments below and I will clarify if needed. So the image itself has some pretty sharp corners. And over here, it's nice and rounded. So let us round those corners with a border radius. Now, the rounds. So now with a border, we put a border on these guys, right? But that's just to show the border of these nav areas. Everything has a border, even if it's not drawn out on the page. So the border of this element was here, and giving a border radius will curve it, whether or not we outline it. So nice and curved. All right, let's move on. So down here, down here. Okay. So this looks a little bit different than that. This guy is cursive. Yep, there's some space between the cupcakes. All right. So so this guy is an H2. So if we want all H2s to be the same, we could just say H2. If we want this specific H2 to be it, we can do it that way. So font family, cursive will give us that cursive look. And hey, look, it did this, it did that, and it went all the way down. Hey, look, this image has rounded borders and is smaller. This here has the cursive, and this image has it smaller, and this image. This is crazy. Oh, wow. Look down here at our lovely nav down here. Okay, what's all... Changes we made to while looking at one thing changed the whole page. Why is that? Well, so up here, we called... Let's first talk about the header. So the nav. So nav down here, right? We weren't looking down here. We were looking at the top. So why did the bottom change? Well, the bottom changed because if we look at our HTML, there's a nav and there's an A. So it goes to specificity. So the nav A here will go to any nav that has an A. So the header has a nav and an A, and the footer has a nav and an A. And since we didn't specify more than that, that is what it's going to pick everything that's a nav that has a link. And if we look on our website, the nav down here does not look like our nav up here. So we need to be a little bit more specific with our nav. Okay, let's see. What is more specific than just nav? Well, this nav is inside this header, and this nav down here is not. Okay, so let's give it a header. And we want this to be header as well, because we're not header as well, because we're not sure if we want the bottom to do the same hover that we did. All right, we'll save it. Let it do its refreshing thing, and then hover. So this still works. All right, let's go down bottom. Hey, look, this is back to normal because we specified we only wanted the top nav to look this way. Okay, so since we specified that, it changed that. And so when we did our CSS with the image, we called all images. And since we have images, it picks up all the images. Now you can do things where we did with the header nav A, where you're specifying through things. But if the image wasn't inside this header, if it's not inside something, you can give it either a class or an ID. So what a class is it's something more specific than a tag. A class can be used on multiple elements if you want all elements to look the same. You can, yeah, I think that's all with classes. ID is specific. It is the most specific you can get. It's unique. Only one element should have the same ID. So if you want to grab just one thing, you'll grab the ID. So if we just wanted to do this image, and let's give it a class of image. So instead of doing this, we'll do this, right? But wait, it didn't work. Well, that's because class isn't a tag. So class has specific syntax, which is a dot before the name. And as you see, it changes back. So class is a dot. If we wanted this to be an ID, let's do that. ID doesn't work because it's no longer a class. And an ID is a hashtag. So there, works like that. All right, let's say we want to do multiple things with this class. Let's say we want the top image. Let's spell class right. We want the top image and the, let's say bottom image. So we want these two to have these properties, all right? So let's see. So top image does. Ooh, that does not. That does not. That does not. But that one does. Nice. So we've picked up the last one and the first one with classes. But I do think that instead of giving every image a class, we don't need to be that specific. Since we want all of our images to kind of not take up the whole page, we'll just do the image. Now, as you noticed, the tag itself is img, not imag. That's because the HTML tag is img. If the tag was imag, we would do that. But since we want it to be the same as that tag. All right. Okay. And okay, so we are here at the about. All right. And it's a little bit more inside, isn't it? So let's see, what is that? All right, let's just try going with B. See if that makes everything look pretty. So it's already text line, so we don't need that. We could do a, oh, let's see. Let's look at our website. See what it is. So this, all right. So it's not a margin, it's not a border. They put a padding. Okay, let's see. Can we do it with a margin? So we don't necessarily need a top or bottom, but we want the sides. So let's say 25%. Hey, it kind of gives us that. Good, all right. I don't know. It's not lining up quite the same way, is it? So let us go with, let's see. Okay, so let's say we text align, and let's see what kind of text aligns there are. So text line CSS, text line CSS, W3 schools are a nice tool to use to look up things. All right, so we can align center, left, right, justify. Let's see what justify looks like. Okay, justify looks pretty good. Looks very nice. Though this looks more like it's in line with this. So let's give it a bit more. Ooh, that's too much. All right, let's try this. Okay. I think that looks fine. Yeah, powder's on the same line. So it's looking a little bit different, but that's because this is out big and this is in the sandbox. So it is good for what we want it. And it looks like there's a bit of a margin between here and there. Let's see, all of our H2s do look like they all have a margin. So let us be specific. Well, not specific. Let us save ourselves the hassles of typing it all in multiple places. Since we want all H2s to do the same, we first we'll make the font size a little bit bigger, just to kind of give us a bit more of a nice look. What's our H1? I think our H1 needs to be bigger too. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. All right, H2s. Okay. And okay, H2, font size bigger, and we want padding. It did not do much, did it? Not did much here. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So padding, top, bottom. We don't need padding. Left, right. I don't think we need that either. Okay. All right, so put this in here. So you see how this thing is right big, and up here it looks nice. So we want this specific image margin to be 50 pixels on the top. But down here, we don't. We want it to be up and close with that title. So we will be more specific. So this top image, it's just the one image we need. So we'll give it an ID of top pick. All right, top pick. And then we'll give it the margin. All right, let's see how that looks. Good, that looks nice. Good. And nice. Okay, good. All that looks gorgeous. And okay. Does that look that big? I think we just need it on the top. So if you just need it on one, you can specify margin top 50 pixels. And see, the nav bar is still not overlapping, but our bottom is a little bit closer. Okay, so we got this image, and our image here is smaller. This is in the middle. Second P is on its separate line. Let's go down here, which it is here. But there should be more of a space between them. So that space between them is what's called a line height. So let's spell it right. And you don't need pixels, just 1.4. Not. Okay. sorry, not line height. All right, let's see. All right, CSS. You know what? That's probably top. Whoa. Okay, let's just do 1%. Okay. So line height is something different. Let's look it up what it is together. So line height property. Set the line height. Okay, that's great. Line height property specifies the height of a line. So down here, it gives you the syntax, gives you the property values, gives you an example. All right, let's try it ourselves to see what it does. All right, so this is line heights, 10, 30 centimeters. So I was actually on the right track. I forgot to add the pixels. So we could do this with the margin, or we could do, let's do pixels. Oh, that is centimeters. Oh, that's too much. And as you see, it kind of does it for everything. And I think we really just kind of need that margin, so we don't need the line height. We'll go back and put this to 1%. And there, that looks good. Let's go back up. Still looks fine. You always want to go back after you've done a change to everything to make sure it makes everything look good. So that image looks nice. We got the space, really good, but somehow I feel like our font might be a little bit smaller. So let's make the font size a little bit bigger. Not as big as any of the titles. Yeah, it looks like it was already there. Okay, so we got that. Let's go over here. Celebrations. Okay. And we want a line here. Okay, let's go down to celebrations. Okay, so we have come to an issue. Because this is a section, the celebrations is a section, the contact is a section, but everything above it is also a section. So we want to be more specific. So what that means is we probably want to add something to it. We can either add a div or we can actually specify the section we want. We could either do the contact us section or the section above it. I say let's do the contact us section since that's kind of where we want the break to be. And we can do the ID of contact since we only have one contact section. And then down here, we'll do hashtag contacts. And then let us save that and then go to where we are working. Whenever you save, CodePen refreshes and goes back to the top. So sometimes it's a little pain. All right, so let's look here. So this is a dashed line, but it looks like it's outlining the box. Let's see, is it outlining the box? Yeah, I'm gonna say that's outlining the box. You're hovering over the contact, it's showing you the contact section, and it's showing you that that dashed line is at the top of that section. So we want a border, right? Let's say we want 1 pixel, okay, solid black. Okay, but that did everything. Okay, so we want just the top, right? So we'll do a top. We'll do border / top, and it takes up the others and goes to the top. And we don't want a solid, we want a dashed. Okay, but it's going across the whole page and not just the contact. Because as you see, the contact isn't the whole page. It looks like it has a good, like, probably 20% either side. So we'll do a margin. Top and bottom doesn't need anything, but sides, let's say 20%. What does that look like? Let's say 25. And we will do our text align. Since it's in the center here, but we don't want it to be in the center. We want it to be left. That did nothing. Okay. So we want it to be to the left. Right? Yeah. Want it over here. Alright, let's see. Okay. Order. Text line. Let's do none. What does that do? It does nothing. Because we have the section here, we have the contact, and we want all this to be to the side. So, what if we did that? Okay. So remember when I took this text align center to the all, and I went here? Being more specific with the contact here doesn't change it, because the section here isn't being affected by that text align. So we'll take this out and we'll paste it here in our H1 and our H2s. And let's make you an H3 then. Okay. And we want our images to be centered. We want our top pick to be centered. And we want our nav to be centered. And it does nothing, does it? Okay. Alright. So up here, text line center. And that does all that, and then that puts it back in the center. So, text line center is affecting the box. So, H1 is its own box. Header nav A is not a box. It's its own link, and it's already centered in the nav. So, we'll do text line center for the header, and it aligns that. Nice. Okay, but then all these sections are not aligning center. So let us do, let's see, if we give all these classes content, so let's see, do this, go up to one we can see pretty quick just to see if it's going to work. A lot of things as you're developing will be similar to, like, I don't know, this didn't work. Well, I did this before, it should work. So let's see, class, we did content, not context. Text align center. And okay, yep. And cookies isn't because we didn't give it the class, so we'll give it the class. Same as that, and that's content. All right, so now we got that. That's in the center, that's in the center, in the center, 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 and this is not in the center. Good. And it's because we didn't want it in the center. It's off to the side. If we didn't mind it being in the center, we could have done the all text line center. But with this, it's fine just the way it is. It's not cursive because we changed it from an H2. So let's do up here, H3, font, family, cursive. Ah, nice. Okay. That looks good. And then we need to put this footer, needs to not be over to the center, right? Because that's the footer we're looking at. So we'll go down here. We'll go with the footer. Let's see. So this is, let's say text line center. Where's that for this? That puts this. And with 50%. Let's see, margin, top, bottom, 0, left, right, 20%, 25%. Okay, nice. So this is in line with contact us, like it is here, and the sweet eats are to the side, or the center, I guess, which is there. Perfect. Not done though, because there's a bit more of a space here. This down here is purple. So let us go with a margin. Let's say the margin's on the top. So margin on the top. Let's go 10%. Not too much. 1%. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's say 2%. Alright. So what's the difference between pixels and percents on these things? Pixels are very, very specific. They will be that many pixels no matter if you're resizing. So if the screen gets smaller or larger, it's going to be the amount of pixels we put it. Percentages is the percent of the screen width. So if you, as you're resizing, the percentages will, the visual will change because it's only taking up 25%. So if we have our screen width as 100 pixels and we have a margin as 25%, at that size it's only taking up 25 pixels. And if we go to 200, that same element that took up 25 pixels in the 100 pixel screen is now going to take up 25% of 200 pixels. I'm not a math major, so whatever that is will be that, which I think is 20 pixels. I don't know. Math, it's not easy. Okay, and we want a color, and this looks like the same color that was up there. And since we changed our color from before, let's go ahead and find out what we had. We had the background color as lavender. So on our footer, we are going to do our background as lavender. Alright, so you see that when we have the margin, our background isn't taking. Alright, put you back in. Save. Okay, there we go. Margin doesn't go the whole thing, right? Well, that's because our margin is outside the box. So the box is getting squeezed in. But we want the background color to take the whole page. So let's change this margin to padding. And now it's taken up the whole page, but our margin on top is a little too close to that. So 0. So let's give our margin top 2%. And yeah, so that looks nice. And I think we had a little bit more padding up here. Let's go with 1%. Okay, nice. And it does look like it has a dashed line here. So we'll do the same thing. We'll give it a border top now. And we'll do 1 pixel dashed. Well, I think we did black before. I did black on the contact, but I think it should be light gray because that's a little too much. Light gray. Yeah, it's a little bit more better. A little bit more better. It's a little bit better. Because we changed our color, even though in here it's probably black, lavender's a lighter color, so we want that lighter dashed. And what else? Wheat bakeries. Oh yeah, our hover down here is a little bit different. So we could, let's grab these down here and make it white. So we went footer, nav a hover, because we don't need to change how it looks without hovering, but we want to change it when it hovers. And we want the color to become white. So let's save that and let's see what we got. Ooh, look at that, it works. Beautiful. And there you have it. That is what that looks like. This is what the one we did looks like. Pretty nice. Alright, I will drop down a link to this code pen below in the description. And if you have any questions or you want me to go over anything more, clarify, feel free to leave a comment and I will get back to you.